Okay, welcome to the Effortless English podcast. As always, if you want the free Effortless English newsletter, go to www.effortlessenglish.org. It's a free newsletter with tips, advice, suggestions about learning English. www.effortlessenglish.org. All right, today's topic is overlearning. First, we have a short little comment from Jeremy Simpson. He is learning Japanese. And then I will talk about my ideas of overlearning English. How to do it, why to do it. Here we go. First, Jeremy Simpson. This is from Jeremy Simpson. Overlearning is hard, but it is the best way to learn a foreign language. I didn't realize just how hard overlearning is. Maybe not so hard for a European language, but with Japanese, I repeat and listen to a sentence 100 times, and sometimes I still don't understand or I mess it up. However, it works. I am now convinced this is the best way to learn a foreign language. The downside, the disadvantage, is that it takes a lot of time. After repeating just a few phrases a few hundred times, with a system I created myself from cutting up Pimsleur lessons, I've had an unbelievable grammar comprehension improvement. The basic grammar of these phrases seems natural now. I no longer think of the English equivalent, and now I just think of how to communicate thoughts in the Japanese way. I'm not translating. The fluidity of my grammar learning is amazing to me and almost cancels out, almost eliminates the boredom of repeating the same words hundreds of times. If you are serious about learning a foreign language, build your core, build the fundamentals with overlearning. Build your foundation as strongly as possible. You won't regret it. Okay, that's from Jeremy Simpson. He's learning Japanese. So let's talk about this idea of overlearning and also this key idea of fundamentals. Fundamentals. Fundamentals means the basic skills, the most important skills for doing anything. For example, in basketball, we have fundamental skills of dribbling, that's bouncing the ball and moving with it. Shooting, right? That's trying to put the ball into the basket. And also passing, right? Throwing the ball from one person to another. And maybe the fourth fundamental, the fourth basic skill of basketball, you might say is defense, right? Blocking the other person. Stopping the other person so they can't shoot, they can't dribble, they can't pass. So you have these four very basic skills, these fundamentals. Now, in English, we also have fundamentals, right? We've got the basics of course, we have reading, writing, speaking, etc. But, what are the fundamentals of English? And why should you overlearn them? Well, the fundamentals of English are the basic vocabulary and the basic grammar, the basic phrases that we use every day. Right? Every single day, there are certain basic phrases, basic grammar, and basic vocabulary that we're using all the time. And these are very, very important. Very important. Unfortunately, many students are impatient. They're not patient. They don't want to wait. They want to have, 10,000 words, 20,000 words, 50,000 words. They want to go fast, everything fast. They study the past tense for, 1 week or 1 month or maybe 1 semester. And then, okay, I want more grammar and more grammar and more grammar. Very, very fast. Same with words. They memorize more and more and more words. This can be a problem. Why? Well, the problem is if you go too fast before you have the fundamental skills, the fundamental vocabulary, If you go too fast, you never learn anything well. You have a lot of knowledge, you have a lot of words memorized, but you can't use them. You have a lot of grammar memorized, right? You remember the grammar rules, but you can't use the grammar rules correctly. When you speak basic sentences, when you tell a story, you use the wrong grammar. That's a problem. That's a very big problem, and it's a very common problem. And it's not the student's fault always. In fact, I'd say usually it's the school's fault. The schools push you too fast. It's always more, faster, faster, faster. But you should be focusing on deeper, deeper, deeper. If you learn the fundamental skills very well, if you master them, they are natural. You don't need to translate. You don't need to think. Then you can learn advanced skills much more quickly and easily. You can learn vocabulary very fast if you already know basic vocabulary very well. You can learn more difficult grammar if you know the basic grammar very, very well. Let's go back to basketball. I remember reading about Michael Jordan, right? Everybody knows Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan was the best basketball player of his time. Maybe he was the best basketball player ever. The best. Nobody's better than him. He could do incredible things, right? Just these incredible, advanced, difficult moves. Incredible, advanced, difficult shots. But I remember I read an article, an interview about and with Michael Jordan. And they asked Michael Jordan, what do you do in practice? How do you practice basketball now as a professional? How did you become so great? And Michael Jordan said, fundamental skills were most important. Even when he was the champion, he was on a championship team, he was the best in the world, but every day he still practiced basic shots. He practiced free throws. Free throws, that's when they stand on the line, right? If somebody fouls them, there's a penalty. They stand on the line, they get a free shot. Nobody can block them. It's a very easy shot for a professional basketball player. And for someone like Michael Jordan, so easy, right? And yet, every day, he still practiced free throws. He still practiced basic dribbling, basic bouncing the ball and moving. Very basic skills. He still practiced basic shots. Not just the difficult shots, jumping in the air and spinning around. He practiced basic, simple shots every day. He practiced basic defense every day. All these basic skills. Even as a professional, he's number one. He's the best in the world. But he said, most of the time, I practice fundamentals. So even as a very advanced basketball player, he was not focused on advanced moves, right? Advanced skills. Yes, he practiced some advanced skills, but most of his time still focused on fundamentals. Those fundamentals were so easy for him, so natural, because he practiced every day. He didn't need to think about them. They were automatic. Well, that's what you need. That's what you want, right? You want your English skills to be automatic. No thinking. No translating. Just like Michael Jordan taking an easy shot. You want to speak in the past tense, for example, without thinking. You don't want to be thinking, is this an irregular verb or a regular verb? Is it ed or something else? Is this the past perfect or the present perfect or the simple past? Which one should I use? Right? You don't want to think about that when you're having a conversation. No, you want it to be instant, automatic, no translating, no thinking. These are fundamental skills, the present perfect, the simple past, the present tense, of course. And also basic vocabulary. You want to totally understand basic everyday vocabulary. Now, most of you can give a dictionary definition. Most of you have a general idea about the meaning of basic English words. And yet, if you listen to a movie, many phrases will not be understandable, right? You know the individual words. You say, okay, yeah, I know that. But actually you don't. You don't understand the phrase, right? The phrase, let me give you an example. Stick it out. To stick it out. That's a common phrase. I mean, I hear that phrase a lot. Americans use that phrase all the time. What does it mean? Stick. Stick, okay? Stick, you look in the dictionary, stick means, well, it's a noun. It can be like a stick from a tree. Or to stick, it can mean to connect with something, like glue, right? Okay, and you know it, and you know out. What does it mean? Stick it out. Some of you might know the meaning of this. Some of you might not. It's an easy example. But stick it out means to not quit. It means don't quit, not quit, not give up. It means continue doing something. Continue doing something. But you know what? That's still not all of the meaning, because stick it out also has a feeling, an emotional feeling. Stick it out means to continue to do something, and it has the idea of something difficult. Continue to do something that maybe it's not fun, maybe it's very difficult, but you will continue trying. That's the full, total meaning of stick it out. You have to know all of that if you really want to master, if you really want to know the fundamentals. The dictionary meaning is not enough. You also need to know the emotion around these words and these phrases. That's what knowing the fundamentals means. It means you don't need to think about anything. You don't need to translate any of this. You know it instantly and automatically. So, fundamentals, fundamentals. You've got to focus on fundamentals. It's not about quantity. It's not about how much can I learn, how many words can I memorize. I know 10,000 words, but I can't use many of them. I don't really fully understand them. If you put them in a phrase, I don't understand how the meaning changes. So you really don't know them. So, let's go now to overlearning. How can you master these fundamentals? How can you really know English well enough so you don't need to think or translate? It's automatic. Well, step number 1, focus on fundamentals. Focus on the basic conversational phrases, words, and grammar that are used every day. Step 2, overlearn these fundamentals. It means learn them too much. You're Michael Jordan, you think, oh, I'm the best in the world, but you still practice the free throws. You still practice the easy stuff, the basics. You never stop practicing them. Never. And that's what you need to do with English. You got to practice these fundamentals again and again and again and again and again. And maybe you're thinking, well, AJ, that's boring. That sucks. I don't want to keep, repeating the same sentence 300 times. Well, you know what? I agree. That is boring. And I think that's Jeremy Simpson, he says he's repeating the same sentences 100 times, 200 times. Yeah, I agree. It's boring. But you don't have to do that. There are other ways. How can you do it? Well, you can find fairly easy English, simple English, basic conversational English, that is interesting to you. Not just a sentence, but an article, or a book, or a movie. I like movies. Movies are great. And you watch that movie, for example. You watch the movie, 100 times. Not in one day, but, every day you watch the same part of the movie. Let's say the first 10 minutes. You watch that every day. It's only 10 minutes. It's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting, maybe, for you. So you watch the beginning of the movie, and you remember it. Next day, you watch the beginning of the movie again. Next day, again. Next day, again. Next day, again. You do this for 2 weeks. And then you start thinking, wow, I'm bored. I'm sick of this movie scene. I'm bored with it. What can you do next? Well, let's say you get online and you read about the movie. And you find the script. You find the text, the words. Now you can read the movie. Right? You read the story. And maybe you take a break. And then next month, you do it again. You come back and you review the same movie scene again. And you get bored, so you go to the next scene, scene number 2 in the same movie. And you watch that every day for 1 week. Then you go to scene number 3. In the same movie, a lot of vocabulary will be repeated. Right? They will repeat the same words, the same phrases many times. So you will get the repetition, you will overlearn, but you don't have to just say one sentence again and again and again. What else could you do? After you watch one movie, maybe you can find the book. Right? Many movies have books. They have a book and a movie. It's the same thing. Let's say Harry Potter, for example. Well, first you watch the Harry Potter movie, Harry Potter #1. And you watch it again and again and again and again and again. You really learn it well. Then you get the Harry Potter book. Now you read Harry Potter. Not just one time. Let's say maybe you read the whole book one time. Then you go back. Maybe you wait 1 month. And then you read it again. You read it 2 times. Maybe you read it 3 times. Maybe you read it 4 times. I don't know. But then you're not finished. Then you go to the Harry Potter website. And you read more about Harry Potter, Harry Potter's books, the characters, the stories. Maybe you then go to book number 2 and movie number 2. It's not exactly the same, but it will be similar. Writers usually use similar vocabulary, right? So Rowling, the writer, she has some vocabulary she likes, and she'll use it again and again in all of her books. So you're getting repetition. The fundamentals are getting repeated again and again and again. In my own website, Effortless English, I give this overlearning to my members, to my students, by doing different lessons, but each lesson is using the same phrases or similar phrases. For example, I'll have Hitch. We're using the movie Hitch right now with Will Smith. First, you will listen to a vocabulary lesson about scene number 1 from Hitch. I explain the vocabulary. Okay, you're listening to me. You're hearing the new vocabulary. You are also listening to my basic English conversation, right? As I explain, I'm using a lot of words. I'm using normal, everyday English phrases. So you're learning these. After that, you listen to the vocabulary lesson a few times. Then you listen to a mini story lesson. I tell a story, usually a funny or stupid story, very short, and I use some of the vocabulary from Hitch. The same vocabulary, but I use it in a different situation, right? A different story. You listen to the mini story many times. I ask a lot of questions. I use the vocabulary in my questions. Oh, more repetition. You're learning it more and more. You're hearing this word again and again. You hear it in my questions. You hear it in the vocabulary lesson. You hear it in the mini-story. Then I do a point of view mini-story. I change the verb tense. Maybe I change to the past tense. I tell the same story again. Now it's past tense. More repetition, more overlearning for you. Then I tell it again. Maybe I use the perfect tenses, right? Since 2006. And I tell the same story, but the verbs change. Well, now you're learning grammar, but you're also learning and hearing the same vocabulary, the same phrases again and again. Finally, you go and you actually listen to Hitch, or you watch Hitch. You watch the first scene. And now you're hearing the original dialogue. You're hearing actors, not AJ. You're hearing the actors, Will Smith. He's speaking these phrases. You're hearing the natural pronunciation. And you're hearing them again. A new situation, but the same basic language. But I'm not finished yet, because after that I have a commentary. And I talk about the movie scene. I tell you my ideas. Did I like this movie? Did I not like this movie? Why do I like it? Why is this an interesting way to learn English? I talk about it, normal conversation. And when I do that, again, I'm often using the same phrases. So you're hearing the same phrases in 6 or 7 or 8 different ways. You are overlearning them. My goal, I want you to hear the same phrases, the same vocabulary, 30 times or more after you do one lesson at my website. You should hear the same phrases around 30 times. And that's easy to do. If you listen to each lesson 1 or 2 times every day, and if you do that for 1 week or 2 weeks, you will hear those same phrases 30 or 50 or 100 times. And it's not so boring. In fact, most members think it's quite interesting and fun. So this is how you can overlearn. You can do this yourself. All right. Whew, I've talked a long time, right? Let's summarize. In conclusion, what's the important point here? Well, there are 2 important points, and that's this. You need to learn the fundamentals very well, the basic skills, basic vocabulary, basic pronunciation, basic grammar. You must know these very, very, very well. How do you do that? You do that with overlearning. Overlearning. You overlearn the easy material. You overlearn the basic material. You keep learning it and practicing it again and again and again until it is automatic. Until you do not need to think, you do not need to translate. When it's automatic, then you are ready for very advanced things. Then you're ready for advanced grammar, advanced vocabulary. Until then, you should keep practicing the basics again and again. All right, that's it. Overlearn your English. Do it in a fun way, like I do with the website, with my website. Do it in a fun way. Don't become bored. You want to enjoy it, but you must practice the fundamentals. Never stop practicing them. All right, I will see you next time. As always, if you're interested in the free newsletter, go to www.effortlessenglish.org. See you next time. Bye-bye.